So you will receive a recording of this meeting afterwards, in addition to the PowerPoint presentation. So if you missed something or want to go over something again, you will have that. And of course, you will receive your professional development certificate via email. In addition to that, we're going to send a survey so we can get your feedback on what you liked about our professional development workshops, how we can improve. Anyone that completes that survey will be entered in a drawing for a $20 gift certificate. So please look out for all that information coming via email, probably tomorrow. So on that note, again, we thank you. And just a reminder that today's session is the same as yesterday. So if you joined yesterday, we're going to be doing the same thing again today. We made 2 sessions to make it convenient for everybody. We know your schedules are a little crazy. So if you did join yesterday, we're going to be doing the same thing again today. You're welcome to stay, but we'd also like to give you the gift of time. We know you're busy. So again, we are going to be going over everything pretty quickly. We're going to go over those standards, give you some practical strategies, and then moving forward, we are here to support you through our partnership with the New Jersey Department of Education for financial literacy. And on that note, I would like to, I know my colleague from the NJDOE is on the line, Mr. Micah Bender. Micah, if you are there, if you'd like to, if you're able to unmute yourself and say hello to everybody.
Good morning, how are you?
All right, good morning, Micah.
Thank you very much for having me today. I had technical difficulties yesterday. Like Kristy said, thank you for the introduction. My name is Micah Bender. I am the Personal Financial Literacy Coordinator for the New Jersey Department of Education. And I'm here to assist Kristy in junior achievement in any way that they need. I'll throw my email in the chat if anyone ever has any kind of legislation question or anything. I'd be more than happy to help you. Thank you again for having me.
Excellent. Thank you again, Micah, for joining us and for putting your email in chat box. And yes, of course, if anyone has any questions for Micah in regards to the DOE, please feel free to reach out to Micah. He's been a great resource for us as well. Thank you so much, Micah. All right, so moving ahead, again, I'm going to go through some of these slides very quickly because I know that you guys have a lot going on right now. A little bit about junior achievement. If you're unfamiliar with us, we are a 101-year-old organization, 102 now. And we are a global organization. So there are junior achievement areas all over the country and all over the world. Here in New Jersey, we've got a really solid operation. We serve the whole entire state. Prior to the pandemic, we were reaching over 84,000 New Jersey students statewide in grades K-12 with our various programs that focus on financial literacy and career readiness. All of our programs are available to schools at no cost, thanks to the support of our companies and our corporations and our donors. Most important thing to know that in 2019, we entered a cooperative agreement with the Department of Education for financial literacy, and we are providing professional development to educators and model curriculum that aligns and meets New Jersey's standards and graduation requirements for financial literacy. So that's why we are doing this today. And that's why we will continue to support you throughout the year with our professional development workshops, our webinars, and our curriculum. A bit about our education center. Some of you may have been there. We have a beautiful state-of-the-art education center in Raritan Center in Edison, which is very easily to get to. It's close to just about all those major highways in New Jersey right there. This is where we house our capstone programs, where we have hands-on activities for students for our Finance Park and our BizTown programs, as well as our career readiness workshops, educator professional development workshops when we're able to do that again, and special events. So hopefully we will see everyone there at some point when we are free to reopen. If you'd ever like a tour of our education center, please feel free to reach out to us at any time. We'd love to give you a tour as soon as it is safe to do so. So we're going to talk a little bit about New Jersey student learning standards. Again, I know you probably know all about these. They do represent that foundation from which your district has to build coherent curriculum and instruction that prepares your students with the knowledge and skills to succeed in our rapidly changing world. And sure it is, for sure. They now include climate change across all content areas, computer programming in all grade bands from K to 12, and they also include national standards for science and visual and performing arts. New Jersey Student Learning Standards, the English language arts and math was revised in 2014 and adopted by the State Board of Education in 2016. You probably remember that. And then revised in the past couple of years and adopted by the State Board of Education in June 2020 were the New Jersey Student Learning Standards for Visual and Performing Arts, Comprehensive Health and PE, Science, Social Studies, Computer science and design thinking, world languages, and of course our focus today, career readiness, life literacies, and key skills, also known as CLKS. So hot off the presses, updated curriculum implementation schedule. So previously, I think before May of this year, districts had to adopt curriculum for some of those this fall and some next fall, but they've all been pushed to next fall, just to give us a little bit of extra time to get that implemented. So all of these, all of them except for the math and language arts, visual and performing arts, comprehensive health and PE, science, social studies, world languages, computer science and design thinking, career readiness, life literacies, and key skills. Those all have to be implemented by September 2022. For districts undergoing CUSAC review, what does that mean for you? So that means that this year, your school district will be considered compliant using district board adopted curricula aligned to either the 2024 revised standards or the 2020 revised standards. And in next school year, 2022-23, your district will be considered compliant using curriculum aligned to just the 2020 New Jersey Student Learning Standards. So that's what it means for all of you, for your districts, especially if you are undergoing CUSAC review. So quick question that I'm going to pose to everyone, if you'd like to answer this in the chat room. We are interested in this because, of course, we want to support you the best possible way we can. So will you or your district align your curriculum to the revised standards this year? Or are you going to wait until next year? And if you don't know, that's totally fine too. But please feel free to post your answers in the chat room. If you think your district is going to align your curriculum to the revised standards this year, or if you're going to wait until next year. We'd really like to hear from you in that chat room, and we thank you for that. Let's compare the 2014 standards to the 2020. There's a lot of words here. I'm not going to go over all of them. But if you look at the 2014 version and the 2020, you'll see that there's a lot more added there in 2020. Again, intentional focus on K-12 alignment, climate change performance expectations are now addressed in all content areas instead of just some of them. And again, the connections to SEL and equity are also in there in all of the materials. And previously, they were not specifically addressed. So, and the one thing that's great about the new standards, all of them, not just career readiness, is that they all have a consistent format. So if you're looking at the standards for financial literacy, and then you want to go look at the standards for computer science, it's easy to kind of look at them because they all have the same consistent format. They all start with an introduction that have a mission and vision. They all have content-specific research, and they all include the New Jersey statutes and administrative code that align with that content. They all have the same grade bands. The standards are grade specific and written by the ends of grades 2, grades 5, grades 8, and grades 12. So they all have the same grade bands. They all have the same structure using disciplinary concepts, core ideas, and performance expectations. And we're going to break that down in a moment. And they all have at the end those appendices, which outline the integration of content-specific practices, SEL competencies, 21st century skills and themes, and all those other great things that are there. So those great appendices that will be a great resource for you. So let's talk now about that Standard 9, CLKS, Career Readiness, Life Literacies, and Key Skills, because that is why we are all here today. So they were formerly titled 21st Century Life and Careers, if you've been around previously in doing this. Again, September 2022 that is when your district is required to adopt curricula based on those revised standards next fall. They're intended for integration, especially that 9.4, intended for integration throughout all K-12 academic and technical content areas. They provide the frameworks for students to learn those concepts, skills, and practices that students know they need to learn. Stuff that you need to know for the real world and stuff that students really want to learn. And if you want to get all those standards outlined, just visit the 2020 webpage on the DOE website. That's the link right there. Or you can simply do what I do most of the time and just Google NJDOE 2020 standards, and it will bring you right there. That gives you all the documents right there, all the standards, all the information right there. It's a great resource. So what's different than how it was before? So 9.1 is personal financial literacy, and 9.2 is career awareness. They have been revised based on the feedback provided by New Jersey educators. I was very happy to participate on the group that was revising the 9.1 personal financial literacy. It was a really great group of dedicated, mostly educators, a really very diverse and dedicated group of educators. And there are a few people like me that were not educators, but definitely involved in the space. So, and we were very, very thoughtful and deliberate and intentional when we were revising those standards. It was a great process. Standard 9.3, that's career and technical education. That remains unchanged for now, but they are always being kind of updated through the Office of Career Readiness. And then this is what's exciting. A new standard 9.4, life literacies and key skills, has been added to ensure our students are prepared with the necessary knowledge, skills, and dispositions to thrive in an interconnected global economy. So let's talk about the framework. So the design of this version of the NJ Student Learning Standards is, again, to promote the development of curricula and learning experiences that reflect the mission and vision, that foster greater coherence and appropriate progressions across the grade bands, establish meaningful connections among the major areas of study, and prioritize those important ideas and core processes that have the lasting value beyond the classroom. So again, what the students need to know to be successful in the future. They reflect the habits of mind that are central to career readiness, life literacies, and key skills. And of course, you know, they lead to post-secondary success. So let's talk about this framework. And again, this is the framework that is in all the core content areas, not just financial literacy and key skills. So they all have the same framework. The mission and vision serve as a foundation for each of the content area standards, and they describe the important role of the discipline in the world and reflect the various statutes, regulations, and policies. So the mission for CLKS is this right here. It provides students with the necessary skills to make informed career and financial decisions, engages responsible community members in a digital society, and successfully meet the challenges and opportunities in an interconnected global economy. So if you feel like using that chat box, what does that mean to you? When you think about that mission, what does that mean to you? And what does that mean to your classroom and your students when you think about that mission? And then we'll go on to the vision. And again, we invite you to share your thoughts there in the chat box if you have a vision for your own students. And if this maybe aligns a little bit to the vision of the CLKS standards. So here is the vision: an education in career readiness, life literacies, and key skills fosters a population that self-reflects, uses effective communication and collaboration skills, possesses financial literacy and responsibility, plans, executes, and alters career goals in response to changing society and economic conditions, and seeks to attain skill and content mastery to achieve success in a chosen career path. So that's the vision. And chances are you probably have a vision for what you want for your students. We'd like to hear that if you'd like to share it. So please feel free to share your own vision for your students in your classroom right there in that chat box if you'd like. But in the meantime, let's move on to the disciplinary concepts and core ideas. So this is what's next after the mission and vision. You'll see all this laid out if you look at the standards on the DOE website. The disciplinary concepts and core ideas, those are the joists. And they play a really important role in the framing by making those connections among the performance expectations. The core ideas really help to prioritize, and they provide clear guidance as to what should be the focus of learning by the end of all those grade band levels. And again, the end of grades 2, grades 5, grades 8, and grades 12. So these are the disciplinary concepts, and you see they all have those acronyms that go along with them. Before they were called strands. If you remember the old financial literacy standards, these were called strands. Now they're called disciplinary concepts. Some are relatively the same. Some you may see are a little new. But here they are, and this is for financial literacy. They are civic financial responsibility, credit profile, financial psychology, that's new, and I think really, really important. Financial institutions, planning and budgeting, risk management and insurance, and then economic and government influences. The disciplinary concepts for 9.2, it's easy, there's just one. It's career awareness and planning, CAP. So you'll see CAP, disciplinary concepts, like all the others that are aligned to the grade band. So by grade 2, by grade 5, by grade 8, and by grade 12. 9.3, again, these standards outline what students should know and be able to do upon completion of a CTE program of study. So if you are in a CTE school, or if you are in a comprehensive high school and you have a CTE program, these are the standards that you will follow for that specific program. They are grouped by the 16 career clusters. They are always being updated by the New Jersey Department of Education's Office of Career Readiness. I also sit on one of those committees as well. And you can get information for all of that stuff on the NJDOE's website, Office of Career Readiness. They've got a great website right there that you can check it out. And then finally, the disciplinary concepts for 9.4. These are all new, and boy, do I like these. These are really great. I'm sure your students will like them as well. Life literacies and key skills. Creativity and innovation, critical thinking and problem solving, digital citizenship, global and cultural awareness, information and media literacy, and finally, technology literacy. And as you can imagine, these have those interdisciplinary connections. So these are not intended to just be a class. These are part of everything that students should be learning. And this is an example of what those interdisciplinary connections look like. So this is a screenshot that was taken from the DOE's website that really outlines the standards here. And I outline in red one of those interdisciplinary connections. So you'll see the core idea there, and this is for information and media literacy. You see that core idea is all about digital tools. And you'll see that one that I've aligned there, that is from the math standard and statistics. So you'll see kind of how those align. That standard right there, that math standard says formally assess the fit of a function by plotting and analyzing residuals, including with the use of technology. So you'll see those connections there, which make it very easy as you're planning out for your curriculum. And again, this is what the interdisciplinary connections look like. Here's another example. This is taken from 9.4, life literacies and key skills. You'll see the interdisciplinary connection between one of those and something from health and PE. And again, you'll find all of these right there in that document, and they align to, you'll see them aligned to math, to PE, to English, to computer science, to social studies, all of those right there. Okay, let's move on to performance expectations. So the performance expectations, those are the studs, and they serve as a framework for what students should know and be able to do. These are the details right here, those performance expectations. They incorporate the knowledge and skills that are most important for the students to know to be prepared for that post-secondary success. So these are the little details that are there. And here is an example. I took this from financial psychology because, again, this one is relatively new. And I think if you're teaching financial literacy, financial psychology is such an important concept for students to be aware of, because there's so many choices that we make regarding how we spend and how we save that are really rooted in our experiences and our emotions. A lot are rooted in the way we were raised. So, those of us who maybe were raised in households where money was tight, we have different ways of spending than maybe some of those of us or your students that are raised in households where money is not an object and they don't have to be responsible for money. Some of us may have negative feelings towards money if we were raised where money was always a stress point. So it's really important for students and educators to understand that really makes a difference on the choices that we made. So anyway, I took this core idea from that because financial psychology really is, I think, one of the most important standards that we need to talk about when we talk about financial literacy. And this core idea is an individual's values and emotions will influence the ability to modify financial behavior when appropriate, which will impact one's financial well-being. So the two performance expectations that align with that core idea are right there. And you'll see how they are numbered. 9.1, that's financial literacy. 8 is the grade band. FP stands for financial psychology. So that's the core idea. And then, of course, this is number 1 performance expectation and number 2 performance expectation. So when you see all those numbers and letters written out, that is what they mean. Okay. So here is another one. This is from career awareness and planning. And again, this is for high school. This is at the 12th grade band you see there. So the core idea here is career planning requires purposeful planning based on research, self-knowledge, and informed choices. And then you'll see the performance expectations there. 9.2 is career awareness and planning. 12 is the grade band. CAP is that core idea. Career awareness and planning is the same thing. And then you'll see standard number, performance expectation number 4 and performance expectation number 5. So that's what they all look like. Okay, now let's move on to the practices. So the practices are the roof and they represent the key ideas. They're positioned at the top of the house, represent that apex of learning there. The goal here is for the students to internalize those practices or habits of mind and be able to apply them to new situations outside the school environment. The practices span across all aspects of the standards and are an integral part of K-12 students' learning of those disciplines. So again, these are practices, they are not standards. If you remember, these used to be called the career ready practices, and a lot of us had that poster. I think it was purple and orange, those great colors that we had that poster hanging. I've seen it in a lot of classrooms and schools. Those have just been revised somewhat and are now called the CLKS practices. I have them all written here. I'm not going to explain them all because, again, it's a lot of words. But this is what they are, those 9 practices, working productively in teams, using technology, all those things. So let's put it all together. And again, we're going to use right now the disciplinary concept of credit profile. So the core idea, there are strategies to build and maintain a good credit history. And these are the performance expectations right there. You'll see them written out. These are for the grade 8 band. And then the practice that aligns to this disciplinary concept and these performance expectations is, of course, attend to financial well-being. Okay, so here's an example of these standards in action. So, and this is courtesy of our friends at Lincoln Investment who have sponsored this program and have given us this kind of knowledge, financial knowledge to us to share with you. So this is for the concept idea under risk management disciplinary concept. A person's tolerance for investment risk can change depending on factors of life circumstances, financial goals, and economic conditions. So the performance expectation here is describe the importance of various sources of income in retirement, including Social Security, employer-sponsored retirement savings plans, and personal investments. And here is what you could share with the students. Many of you may be familiar with this as well. A 401(b) plan is a U.S. tax advantage retirement savings plan available for public education organizations. And then you can explain to the students a little bit what that is and how those salary deferrals are included in there. Another example here is for the performance expectation outlined here. Identify types of investments appropriate for different objectives such as liquidity, income, and growth. And you could share with your students that the greater the amount of risk in an investment, the greater your potential reward or return. So for an example, a low risk investment is a money market or a CD. A moderate risk investment is our bond funds. And high-risk investments are growth and income funds. Okay, so we're going to talk about a couple other things before I turn it over to my colleague Stephanie, who's going to give you some examples of our curriculum that is free and aligns to these standards that all of you can use. But first, we're going to talk about a couple other things because, to quote my famous 1980 slacker, I'm dating myself here, life moves fast. You have to stop around and take a look. Otherwise, you could miss it. So what are some of these new things that our students are thinking about that it's important for us as educators to have these conversations around? And again, these are all part of these new standards, the new Standard 9. These are pieces of it. So one thing that's new, digital citizenship. How do we learn to be a productive and responsible citizen of the digital world? You have to, that's an important concept to know. We're citizens of our communities, of our schools, of our classrooms, but we also have to learn to be good digital citizens. That means that we have to manage our digital footprint, use proper etiquette when communicating using technology, and consider issues and consequences related to the use of technology. I am sure you've had conversations with your students around this already, because it really is important, and being a digital citizenship is part of our young people's daily lives for sure. So here's a question. Again, a lot of this stuff is better handled through conversations, and there's some things that you really don't want to obviously, lecture your students about, because this is best done with a conversation. Here is a sample prompt to really talk about digital citizenship, and I'll pose this all of this question to you as well. So think about it. You've recently been recruited at work to be a part of a team that is working on a highly sensitive project. You've been part of the company for years, and this is your first truly big break with them. You know that the content of the project cannot be shared with anyone, but you are so excited you feel you have to at least say something to your online friends. You're wondering if maybe you could just post something about an exciting project at work without giving any indication of the nature of the project. So what do you think? Do you post this or do you not post this? And I think everybody probably knows the answer. No, we don't want to post this, but then you'd want to have a conversation. Why? Thank you, Evelyn. Don't post that, right? But then talk about the why, because it's important to understand what the consequences are for that. There are 9 elements of digital citizenship. Again, this is not a lot of words here. I'm not going to go through all these, but you'll receive this presentation and all the and the PowerPoint later, and you can go over this. Creativity and innovation. Again, that's a new part of that new standard 9.4. That is so important. That is what employers are looking for. And I'm going to go over this in a little bit more detail in just a moment. But creativity and innovation are one of the most important skills that employers are looking for, because that's what's going to help students when they're on the job. We're going to see considerable change in growth, and having creativity really puts an employee in the driver's seat. Students need to know that sometimes new ideas don't work right away or at all, and being able to rebound from a setback with improvements and new ideas shows employers that you will keep their company moving forward. So innovation, creativity, really important. So how do we teach innovation and creativity? Part of this is design thinking. And if you remember, the computer science standards now are called computer science and design thinking. This is also a way to think creatively, to think critically, and think out of the box, and collaborate. Design thinking, a lot of you are probably familiar with this already. It's a really hot thing that companies are using. Design thinking is taught in college classrooms. A lot of them in their business programs, they'll have a whole semester on design thinking. But guess what? You can use this even in a kindergarten classroom. You can use design thinking to help students work together to solve problems and think of ideas. There are 5 steps to design thinking: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So again, you can get all kinds of information about design thinking. Junior Achievement actually has a program for design thinking for high school students, but there really is a lot of this information in all different kinds of places, because it is such a widely used method for problem solving. Information and media literacy, we're all thinking about that. We all see stuff online all the time. A lot of it's fake. We know it. It drives us crazy, right? Our students need to know how to find out what's real, what's fake, and thinking about the source of where these things are coming from. And again, this is better off having a conversation around younger students. You can talk about things that they're familiar with but may not pay much attention to, like cereal commercials. Where's that coming from? What's the message that the company is trying to send? And then older students, they see all this stuff. They see viral videos, they see TikToks, they see memes. Have a conversation around those and get them to think about, what does that mean? Where does it come from? How do we know if it's real or if it's fake? Speaking of real and fake, who knows what this guy is? If you know what this guy is, who he is, what this means, go ahead and post that in the chat room. Let's see who is financially savvy here. There we go. Thank you, Christina. This is Dogecoin. Look at that's really cute, right? It's really cute, but boy, is it wild. So it's a piece of cryptocurrency. It's a form of payment that can be exchanged online for goods and services. Most of us know what this is. Most of us, if we try to explain it, it's hard to explain, really, but it uses a technology called blockchain. So there's no central bank here with cryptocurrency. Instead, it uses this blockchain technology. Bitcoin is the oldest, most established, and most popular cryptocurrency. Dogecoin is a cryptocurrency that became wildly popular, I think, after an Elon Musk tweet back in April. It was created based on a joke based on a 2013 meme of a Shiba Inu dog. That's why it's so cute. So what does that mean for us? Obviously, it would be very hard for most of us to describe cryptocurrency and teach it to our students. Chances are they know more than we do. I got all my information from my 20-year-olds and I asked them, can you help me with this PD workshop? I need to try to explain this. So that's how I got my information. You can also get a lot of information on the internet. Forbes is always updating their articles about it. A lot of the money blogs will update articles when new things happen. But it's important to know that this is extremely volatile. Cryptocurrency is volatile. So really, you have to remind students that smart investors will research their potential decisions, they'll seek advice, they'll diversify their investments, and then have conversations around this and ask questions because it is so volatile, it changes all the time. Okay, so one more quick thing, and then I promise I will get to my colleague Stephanie, who's been waiting very patiently to give you information about our free curriculum. But this is something hot off the press. McKinsey Global Institute just released a survey. They looked at some of the jobs that will be lost, as well as the jobs that will be created as we look to the future. And what are those skills that our students are going to need to know? Which ones will decline, but which ones are important? So here's what we learned. And this study just came out, but guess what? CLKS had it right. So these standards here in New Jersey were revised 2 years ago, but they knew what they were talking about because this global study that McKinsey just published, everything that's in there aligns to what is in CLKS, right? Our students will benefit from having that set of foundational skills that will help them fulfill the following in 3 criteria. This is what they found are the most important, McKinsey. If students can add value beyond what can be done by automated systems and intelligent machines, right? So yes, everything's going to be automated, but our students are going to be able to add value to that. Our students should be able to operate in a digital environment, and our students need to be able to continually adapt to new ways of working and new occupations. So guess what? Students have learned to adapt this whole entire year, just as we have. You hear so much that term learning loss that I just can't stand personally, because our students have learned all year to be able to operate in a digital environment and to be able to adapt to new ways of working in new occupations. So that's what they've spent the last year learning, just like we have. And that's what's going to be important. That's an important skill that translates to future careers. So these are the 4 broad skills categories. The first one is cognitive. Critical thinking, planning and ways of working, communication, mental flexibility. The second one is interpersonal, mobilizing systems, developing relationships, teamwork effectiveness. The third is self-leadership. This one is really the most important, as you'll see in a minute. Self-awareness and management, entrepreneurship, goals and achievement. You'll see all of these are embedded in social emotional learning. And then finally, digital fluency, software use and development, understanding digital systems. So in my follow-up, if you'd like, I can send you the link to this survey that McKinsey did. It's really fascinating. And you can also get SEL resources by visiting SEL4NJ's website that I put down there at the bottom. But again, McKinsey's research found that employment was most strongly associated with the proficiency in 4 elements of talent in that self-leadership category. So these floated up to the top to being the most important as far as employment: adaptability, coping with uncertainty, synthesizing messages, and achievement orientation. So again, everything our students have had to learn this past year, that's that, right? Okay. Employment outlook, again, this is here in New Jersey, aligned with New Jersey Business and Industry Association's reports. These are the jobs that are going to be really in demand as our students graduate. Middle-level positions, healthcare workers across the board, healthcare jobs that require a certificate, an associate's degree, a 4-year degree, and an advanced degree. Information technology, STEM, financial services, and manufacturing. Okay, so our financial literacy requirements, those of you who are aware, probably most of you know, our students now have to graduate beginning with the class of 2014 with that semester in financial literacy. And legislated, I think 2 years ago, financial literacy must be taught in New Jersey in all grades in middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So that means that, yes, the standards are there already, but that means that 6th graders have to have some financial literacy, 7th graders, and 8th graders. You can't just put it all in 8th grade, according to the new legislation. Financial literacy is more important now than ever, as you can imagine, as we navigate this challenging economy. And of course, with everything, as you know, it all starts with education. So thank you so much for all of your dedication to your students. For those of you teaching financial literacy, as you know, it's more important now than ever. So my colleague Stephanie, you've been very patient while I've been talking away. Thank you so much. And now I would like to turn it over to you to talk about, okay, so what can we do now? Junior Achievement New Jersey has the solution, free curriculum aligned to these academic standards and graduation requirements. Stephanie, I turn it over to you, and you just let me know when you need me to advance the slides. Thank you, Stephanie.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Kristy. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Always have to double check. All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Stephanie Karpowitz. I am Junior Achievement's Vice President of Programs and Operations. So happy to be here today. Thanks for joining us on this summer morning. I won't take too much of your time. As Kristy said, she'll follow up afterwards, and you can always keep in touch with us and ask us any questions as we get closer to the school year. But I'm here to talk about a few of JA's programs that align really, really nicely with those state standards that Kristy has gone over just now. Thank you so much, Kristy, for all of that awesome insight. So we have Junior Achievement has a few programs, a few initiatives that we offer to teachers across the state that really align so nicely with those financial literacy requirements. They're called BizTown, Finance Park, and then we have these financial literacy webinars. So next slide, Kristy. I'm going to go through this, fairly high level overview, but I'll talk mostly about our Finance Park program because this is a program for 6th through 12th graders that's designed for students to gain a better understanding of personal financial planning and career exploration. So Finance Park has a classroom curriculum and a virtual simulation. So both of these parts combined really help students build a foundation on which they can make intelligent financial decisions that will last a lifetime. The topics and concepts are aligned with New Jersey financial literacy standards, meet the graduation requirement, and are intended to prompt students to begin thinking about and planning for their financial future. Next slide, Kristy, thanks. So the Finance Park program has a few different options as far as implementation. We know that, this past school year saw a lot of different challenges, and we know that flexibility is key, and even going into this school year. So what we have with this program is an entry-level curriculum and an advanced curriculum. So two different grade appropriate options for schools. So this is a great way for school districts that want to utilize Finance Park and have students in the middle school experience the entry-level curriculum, and then at the high school they can get into the advanced. So they're two different. I'll get more into this in a minute. But they're two different sets of curriculum. And again, one of the things that we do when a school works with us, when the school signs up to participate, we will spend a lot of time with our teachers to make sure that everybody is feeling really good, feeling comfortable, and feels really prepared to implement the curriculum. So please feel free to reach out with any questions about this. So we also have to meet the needs of flexibility in these times, we also offer financial literacy webinars and recordings. So the webinars are things that schools can register for and attend live, or they can review our recordings after the fact. So we have a YouTube channel that has a whole bunch of really great activities and lessons in a super flexible format with objectives and themes from the Finance Park program. Again, these are all aligned with those standards. And we also have a lot of great corporate volunteers and facilitators who bring their real world experience into those lessons. So it's a great way to enhance some of the financial literacy activities. And then the last thing we have is our virtual simulation, where students put all of that knowledge that they have learned from the financial literacy curriculum into practice, where they role play as an adult making financial decisions in a virtual simulation. And this is something that we've offered for many years. It's obviously gotten much more popular during these COVID times, but the simulation is also something that Kristy mentioned also takes place in a physical space at our education center in Edison. So hopefully more on that at some point this year, but for right now, we're sticking with the virtual simulation, at least for the first few months. Next slide, Kristy. So just a little overview on the difference between the entry level and the advanced curriculum. We also have a self-guided option, which a lot of schools utilized last year in those crazy times. So just a little bit of an overview. Both options feature the virtual simulation. There is a grade appropriate simulation for middle school as well as for high school. So those are different for schools that are looking for something for middle school and high school. Next slide, Kristy. So again, you can just kind of see the overview, and I'm going over this quickly because I know we will share this out with you afterwards. But this is a little bit of the breakdown of the difference between the versions as far as implementation. Entry level has the 13 minimum teacher-led lessons, and then the advanced has 8. But we do have a lot of additional supplemental units that go along with those so that these curriculums can both be utilized as a semester-long course. So those minimums are just there to give you that baseline of what's recommended. And again, we know that during these crazy times, flexibility is key. So like I said, we will certainly work with you and your school, your teachers, to make sure everybody is super prepared. Next slide, Kristy. So this is just a little screenshot of the Finance Park virtual simulation. When the students log in, they are given an adult persona. They take a little assessment. So they're given an adult persona that aligns with their choices that they make, and they have to actually move through this city, and they make financial decisions as a consumer. But they also have a given income. They have a credit score. They have existing debt. They have savings, and they are tasked with making decisions around housing and education. They have to, pay off some credit card debt. There's all different things that the students have to do that really align with real world decision making. And it really helps puts that knowledge into practice. They have to apply for loans. They may or may not get approved. So it's a very, very eye-opening experience for the students. This simulation can also be done as a standalone. If that's something that you're interested in, again, you can just let us know. Next slide, Kristy. So in the simulation, there are different life stages that the kids get to experience. They move through as a teenager, then they're a young adult, working adult, and then they're an adult nearing retirement, because we know that the financial decisions and options change over those years. So it's great for the students to get to experience different life stages beyond high school. Next slide. So I kind of jumped ahead here, but the students, they'll determine their net monthly income. They visit those businesses. They'll purchase items appropriate for their lifestyle. They balance their budget. They make their purchases. And then we also do have volunteers that will engage with students in the virtual environment. So this is something that, we can work with your school to set up. We know that volunteers really bring JA's programs to life. And we have a lot of great corporate partners that work with us that we can have mentor your students for a day, for an hour, for a class period, whatever works for you. We always are open to having guest speakers beam in. Volunteers can always teach a lesson, share some of their real world advice and some of the things that they have learned along the way. So again, when you sign up with JA, there's a lot of different things that you can use to enhance your classroom, with us. And again, everything that we do is provided at no cost to all of you. Next slide. So I jumped ahead a bit. So we, like I mentioned before, we have these Finance Park webinars. These are something that, again, the students can do live or they can review afterwards on our YouTube channel. If this is something that your school wanted to sign up for and have folks and have volunteers teach a lesson or engage with your students directly, we can certainly arrange that. We have a lot of folks that love to connect with students. So please just let us know if that's something that you're interested in, facilitating any guest speaker presentations. We do always like to utilize things like Kahoot and the chat box, panel discussion and breakout rooms to keep things engaging. And this is something that JA, we can work with you again to figure out what lessons you'd like covered, what your needs are to really bring some of these real world financial lessons to life. Next slide. So these are just some of the topics from the Finance Park webinars. Again, we can always work with your school to determine what kind of lessons you'd like to see covered and really set something up for you that's meaningful and enriching. Next slide. So when it comes to signing up for this coming school year, we will have our registration open next week. So my colleague Mia is the one who facilitates a lot of those registrations. Her email is listed on the slide here, but we will be following up with those registration links. So when you sign up, you can indicate if you want to use the entry-level curriculum, the advanced level webinars, virtual simulation, all of the above. We will certainly tailor these lessons and these activities to your school to really meet the needs. But just to reiterate one more time that using the full curriculum does meet the financial literacy standards, and we're always happy to work with your teachers to provide some more support around that. So stay tuned for some of those registration links, and we certainly hope that that you sign up with us. Like I said, as soon as a school signs up, we do facilitate teacher training. So we take all of our teachers through a brief virtual overview for to really help our schools get prepared. This is something where we'll spend some time showing educators how to access the curriculum, especially some of the blended and virtual curriculum, making sure everybody really knows what to do and how to do it. And our staff is always happy to support teachers throughout the school year as well. So please know when you sign up with us to use this curriculum and this content, it's not just a free curriculum that is aligned with the state standards, but there is a lot of extra great stuff that comes along with it. Next slide, Kristy. So super quick, I'm just going to talk about one other program that we launched as a pilot last year that also aligns with the state standards around career awareness and preparedness. So we This is a pilot program that we launched in the spring of 2021 called the JA Inspire Virtual Career Expo. This is something that we used to do in person, but obviously having 600 students in an auditorium with over 100 vendor booths just wasn't possible. So we were able to transition this into a really, really enriching virtual platform. So the virtual career fair features about 100 employers and different opportunities here in New Jersey. It's a site where students can log in, they can attend webinars and presentations, they can explore company-sponsored career booths and interact with volunteers using a chat box. When we launched in May, we had 72 schools participate. Nearly 10,000 students logged in and experienced this program from all across the state. It's open to students grades 7 through 12. It is free to New Jersey schools. We have some really nice testimony from one of our great educators who had their students log in and really found it to be a really useful tool, especially in those last few months of school when field trips just weren't possible. Next slide, Kristy. So a couple quick facts. It does meet NJSLS 9. There's self-guided and grade appropriate curriculum. It's supplemental, it's optional. It does give the students some a little bit more of a foundation for when they move into the virtual career fair. But more on that coming out this school year. We'll have some updated lessons for students to utilize. Again, this is free. Our spring pilot is still live and accessible through August 18th. If you would like to log in and check it out, just send us a note, let me know, I can give you access, but this is something that will be launching again next school year. So dates and times to be determined about those virtual live days where we'll have the volunteers on the other side that answer those students' questions. So more on that as we get a little bit further into the school year. Kristy, next slide. I'm watching the clock here too. So it's super flexible. Kids can log in at any point during the day. Once the site launches, students can log in multiple times. They can really spend a lot of time in the career fair and really be exposed to a lot of jobs and opportunities in all different sectors, all different fields, trades. We have college partners located, throughout the fair as well. Top employers in New Jersey. It's a really great diverse mix of opportunities throughout the state. So registration will be open soon. Stay tuned. Next slide, Kristy. So this is just a little overview of some of the partners that we had in the pilot, and then we'll be, of course, adding more for next school year. Next slide, Kristy. All right, so that is it for me. Thank you so much, everybody. I will turn it back over to Kristy.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie. Appreciate it. So again, we will follow up with all of you with information on how to participate in J Inspire, J Finance Park, J BizTown, or any of our other programs. Again, they are all free. A lot of you who are joining today, we recognize your names from today and yesterday's session, so we thank you for continuing to stay involved with JA. And again, we're here for you. We have our 5-year partnership with the DOE. We are here to support you and to give you individualized support as well. So one final program that I'd like to share with all of you is our Women's Future Leadership Academy. We started this last year when schools all went virtual. It began in the fall of 2020 as a weekly virtual series. Students could earn a certificate of leadership or become a student ambassador. We had over 600 volunteers from New Jersey businesses and organizations who served as mentors and featured speakers. These included New Jersey college students. They included young women who were interning at New Jersey's greatest companies, all the way up to C-suite executives who all came on and shared their career advice, their words of wisdom, their thoughts with the students who attended in virtual breakout rooms. We had special career sessions with companies like Verizon, J&J, Santander, AT&T, all those other great ones. And we are going to continue that program this year. You can visit the program's website, janjacademy.org, or you can reach out to any of us for information. But again, that program is open to all New Jersey high school students, our Women's Future Leadership Academy. It will continue to be virtual. We're going to make it bigger and better, and we would love to have your students participate, your high school students participate. Before we close, I just wanted to share a couple slides that our students presented who submitted final projects. These were created by students who participated in the Academy. One student shared her information about goal setting. Again, a lot of the conversation involved getting out of your comfort zone. And certainly that's an important thing for all of us to be aware of as well. Getting out of our comfort zone, we don't learn if we're being comfortable. We have to get out of that zone so that we can grow and so that we can learn. Conflict resolution tips. We talked about that in the Women's Future Leadership Academy. Accept that conflict is normal. Don't ignore it. And then some steps to resolve your conflict. Don't make it personal. Make sure everyone is heard and respected. And of course, once you resolve the conflict, once it's over, drop it. So again, some great feedback from our students. The last slide here, some students learned about financial empowerment. We had a session that was hosted by our partners in the financial services industry. One of our students shared what she learned. Use credit wisely to start building a good credit score. Such an important thing for our young people to know. So if you are interested, again, in learning more, we will follow up with you, but you can also reach out to us as well. There's 3 email addresses here, one from my colleague Mia, one from my colleague Stephanie, who you just heard from, and of course mine. But guess what? We're all friends. We all sit next to each other. So if you, well, not virtually, we sit next to each other. So if you'd like to learn more information, you can just email any of us, and we will get you that information as soon as possible. So again, thank you, educators, for joining us today. We really appreciate your time and your energy. We will follow up with your PD certificate, with the recording of today's session, and with the PowerPoint. If you need anything from us, we are here from you. We're your resource and all things related to financial literacy education and career readiness. Please keep us handy and let us know if there's anything that we can do to support you or your students. Thank you again for joining, and we wish you the best of luck as you start your new school year. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.